But just sitting in emptiness and suffering is the fate of a loser. You must use it. Strategic solitude. Don't look for friends. Look for tasks. Don't regret an empty schedule. Rejoice in free time. When they ask, and they will ask, why are you never around? Don't explain. Remember, power doesn't explain itself. You don't tell them, __, quote, _1, __. You just stay silent. You are simply absent, and your absence screams louder than their presence. When you are alone, you are a mystery. People talk about mysteries. People think about mysteries. Maybe they'll crawl back. Maybe not. But you know what will definitely change? You won't care anymore. Their searches will cease to be your problem. And that is the true victory. Practical rituals of solitude. Hour of power. Every day, set aside 1 hour of complete silence. No phone, no books, no music. Just sit and look at the wall or out the window. In the first few days, your brain will panic. It will demand information. Don't give it any. After a week, you will notice ideas starting to pop into your head that weren't there before. Thought journal. Write down everything that comes to mind during these hours. After a month, you will see the most brilliant ideas were born precisely in silence. Because in silence, the voice of your true quote 3 becomes audible. Digital detox. Once a week, have a day without social media. See how your perception changes. You will stop comparing yourself to other people's pictures and start living your own life. Solo excursions. Go to the movies alone, to a restaurant alone, travel alone. Remove the charge of weirdness from these actions. When you do something alone and feel comfortable, you broadcast to the world, I am whole. I need nothing from you. And that is the most attractive energy. You have considered yourself an outcast for long enough. You have hated your empty evenings for long enough. It's time to see the truth. You are not an outcast. You are the sentinel on the watchtower. You are cold, you are lonely, but you will be the first to see the enemy. You will be the first to see the dawn. He who cannot be alone is doomed to be a slave to the crowd. He who does not need friends is destined to become a leader. Close your phone. Put it in your pocket. You will no longer seek confirmation of your value in a contact list. An empty list is not a sign that no one needs you. It is a sign that you are needed only by yourself and your great purpose. And that is enough. If something inside you resonated, if you have accepted your nature, write in the comments, I don't need the crowd. Give a sign that you have chosen the summit, not the herd. Hit like if you are ready to defend your solitude like a fortress. And subscribe so we can stay silent together about this great secret. Your army is yourself. Go and build your empire. Are miserable. The wolf replied, Yes, I are miserable. The wolf replied, Yes, I am alone. But I choose where to go myself, and you run wherever your master throws the stick. You are not a dog. You are a wolf, and your freedom is worth the hunger and the loneliness. And only by stepping out of their game do you begin to understand the true price of human connections. Reason number 4. Your loyalty is an asset, not an obligation. Weak people scatter the word friend like confetti. This is my friend, that's a friend, we're friends. They completely devalue the concept. A developed mind is stingy with connections. Why? Because true loyalty is the rarest of minerals. It cannot be given to those who won't walk through fire with you. In anthropology, there is a concept called __4_. It's the maximum number of social connections the human brain can maintain. Approximately 150 people. But these are superficial connections. Deep, true friends, to whom you would entrust your life, can be no more than 3 to 5. Now, answer honestly. Do you have 150 acquaintances? Yes. And 5 true ones? Silence. The absence of friends means you have removed from your life everyone who was a fair-weather fellow traveler. Yes, there is emptiness around you, but it is the emptiness of sifted ore. And you know what's scarier than emptiness? Discovering at the moment of a shipwreck that 100 people are standing next to you, but not a single one is ready to throw a life preserver. You have built a fortress. It might be quiet inside, but it's impossible to break into it to stab you in the back. Remember Socrates. He had students, he had friends. But when he was sentenced to death, who was there? Who offered an escape? Crito offered, but Socrates refused. And where were the rest? They were afraid. They stayed in the crowd. Socrates died alone, but his loneliness in that moment was his absolute greatness. He didn't betray himself to please the pack. And when all the masks are thrown off, when the fortress is built, and the vampires are drained of power, the last, most important question remains. Why are you doing all this? Reason number 5. You are approaching genius. This is the hardest part to accept. History has never remembered the crowd. History remembers the loners. Nietzsche, Kant, Tesla, Da Vinci. They didn't have the boys from the block. They had missions. Creativity, science, great ideas. These are the fruits of solitude. It's impossible to write a symphony if you have someone else's laughter hanging in your ears. It's impossible to build a business if you have to go to a bar every Friday to quote 7, quote. Nietzsche wrote, quote, 8, quote. He created the philosophy of the Übermensch while sitting in the Swiss mountains in complete solitude. He only had paper and a migraine, but his ideas will outlive millions of companies that gathered in taverns. Tesla died in a hotel room, alone, without money. But today, cars are named after him, while the names of his, quote, 9 competitors are forgotten. Nietzsche didn't need Instagram to confirm his genius. Tesla didn't post stories. They just worked. What about you? Are you ready to work? Or do you need someone to clap for you? The absence of friends is the tax a genius pays for the right to change the world. You pay with loneliness today to buy greatness tomorrow. There is a metaphor. Imagine your life is a mine. You descend deep down to extract the gold of ideas. Your friends stay at the top. It's light and warm for them there. They shout, "Come on out! Why are you sitting down there? It's fun here!" But you know, if you come out now, The gold stays in the ground, and you will stay with them, poor, but not alone. What do you choose? We are getting to the main point. 5 reasons. 5 steps leading to the summit, where the air is thin but pure. Reason number 1. You stopped fearing the silence. A weak mind panics when the screen goes dark and notifications go silent. There was a study. When people were left in a room without a phone for 15 minutes, many preferred to give themselves a mild electric shock just to occupy their brains with something. It was physically painful for them to be alone with themselves. A developed mind knows empires are born in silence. When there is no one around, you have to talk to the only person who can truly give you advice: yourself. You don't seek company because you are your own best company. You don't feel boredom, you feel potential. While they drink beer and discuss other people's lives, you are building yours. Even if right now you are just sitting in silence, the very fact that you can withstand this silence makes you stronger than 90% of people. There is a metaphor. Imagine your mind is a lake. When people are constantly around you, they throw stones into this lake. The water is constantly rippling. You can't see the bottom. You don't know what's down there in the depths. Solitude is when the ripples calm down, and you finally see what is hidden at the bottom. Sometimes there are pearls. Sometimes there are monsters. But only by seeing them can you finally deal with them. But this is only the first floor of your tower. Let's go higher. Reason number 2. You see energy, not bodies. A developed mind is a highly sensitive radar. You walk into a room, and after 5 minutes, you are already drained. Why? Because you sense vampires. In psychology, there is a term called, quote, zero empaths. People with highly developed minds literally absorb the emotions of those around them. For an ordinary person, chatting with someone is an exchange of information. For you, it's an exchange of energy. And if the person you're talking to is empty, you give and receive nothing but noise. Machiavelli wrote, quote 1. You realized that most friends are just people who need something from you. Your shoulder, your wallet, your attention. Remember the story of Vincent van Gogh. He was alone his whole life. He had acquaintances. He had his brother Theo, but he had no true friends who shared his passion. So what? He poured all that energy onto canvases. His loneliness became the fuel for 2. 000 works. And his contemporaries, who hung out in cafes discussing his quote, 2, remained nothing but dust on the pages of biographies. You haven't become a misanthrope. You've become a nuclear reactor that stopped heating the neighbor's basement. You keep the heat for yourself. When you stop feeding vampires, you gain the resource to look truth in the eye. The truth about the games you've been playing. Reason number 3. You opted out of the quote, 3 game. Look at the packs. In school, in college, in offices. They create rules. Who's cool? Who's an outcast? What to wear? What to say? It's a game designed to keep the herd in check. Sociologist Irving Goffman called this a total institution, a system where the group dictates to the individual how to behave. The fear of being excluded is man's oldest fear. In ancient times, exile from the tribe meant death. Your brain still reacts to social exclusion as physical pain. MRI studies show the exact same brain area responsible for the pain of a physical burn activates when you are socially ignored. When you have no friends, it means you've stopped playing other people's games. You don't chase after approval. You don't prove you're worthy of sitting at their table. Remember, a prince who chases falls. If you chase no one, you become a magnet. You become someone who cannot be controlled through the fear of exclusion. And an uncontrollable person is a dangerous person in the eyes of the crowd. That's why they say, weird. In their language, weird means free. You have no friends. Congratulations. Either you're a complete loser, or you've reached a level most people never even dream of. And right now, we're going to find out which one you are. Open your phone. Scroll through your contacts. Ask yourself one question. If you disappear tomorrow, who will come to your funeral not out of courtesy, but because they will genuinely miss you? Felt that chill in your chest? This emptiness you feel, society calls a curse. It whispers to you, something is wrong with me. But Machiavelli knew the truth 500 years ago. The crowd never calls for those who have gone too far ahead. He wrote in The Prince, "Men are always ready to desire praise, but rarely willing to pay for it with the price of their own freedom." Your empty phone book is not a sentence. It's a receipt for the price of freedom. Today, I'll give you 5 reasons why your loneliness is not a social failure, but the armor of your mind. And after this video, you will stop hating the silence. You will start controlling it. You have passed the 5 reasons. You've seen the summit. But there is one problem. Your brain is still screaming. __quote _0 __. This scream is not yours. This scream was planted in you long before you learned to think. Let's break down the anatomy of social programming. Phase 1. Childhood. From birth, you are told, you need to make friends. There's safety in numbers. A good boy should have lots of friends. Fairy tales, cartoons, commercials. Everywhere, loneliness is portrayed as a tragedy, and the crowd as happiness. Why? Because a mass society needs mass people. People who are afraid to be alone are easily controlled. They are easy to manipulate through the fear of rejection. Phase 2. School. School is a factory for producing identical cogs. You are taught not to think, but to be like everyone else. Anyone who stands out becomes an outcast. The mechanism of bullying is not an accident. It is a tool. It shows everyone, look what happens if you're alone. And you learn to hide in the crowd, even if that crowd disgusts you. Phase 3. Media and movies. Think of any Hollywood movie. The loner always suffers until they find their gang. The Avengers, Fast and Furious, even Harry Potter. Everywhere, strength is in the team. This is a powerful anchor. You grow up with the belief that your value is measured by the number of people around you. Phase 4. Social media. Here, the programming reaches its peak. You see photos of other people's parties, other people's friendly hugs, and you feel a pang of guilt. It seems to you that everyone has a life, and you only have yourself. But the truth is that 90% of these photos are staged. People act out friendship like actors in a movie, and you believe it. As a result of this programming, shame arises. You sit alone on a Friday night and feel flawed. You start looking for someone to blame. Yourself. You think, what is wrong with me? But let's turn on a cold, rational mind. Ask yourself, who benefits from you fearing loneliness? Employers who need obedient cogs? Marketers who sell you a __9_? Politicians who find it easier to control a crowd than an individual? You fell into a trap, but you can get out of it. How to break the program? The first step is awareness. You have already taken it by watching up to this point. You see the mechanism. And to see the mechanism means to stop being a part of it. The second step is re-evaluation. Every time you feel ashamed of your loneliness, tell yourself, quote 10. The third step is new anchors. Start noticing that it's exactly in solitude that you do your best work. Remember the moments when you were productive, creative, calm. Associate loneliness with power, not with pain. There is a great metaphor. Imagine your loneliness is a spacesuit. Inside the spacesuit, you can breathe, work, and explore space. Outside is a vacuum, where no scream is heard. Why would you take off the spacesuit to become part of the vacuum? Now that you see the enemy, now that you understand where this sticky fear comes from, let's talk about how to use your loneliness as a weapon. Niccolo Machiavelli, observing the courts of Florence, saw not only conspiracies, but the very nature of human connections. He saw how people gather in packs, not for strength, but for warmth. They fear the cold of their own thoughts, so they huddle together. There is a phenomenon in ethology, the law of the herd. Herbivores bunch together to protect themselves from predators, are not looking for a friend. They are not looking for a friend. They are looking for safety in numbers. Most people are not looking for friends. They are looking for an audience. They need someone to say, quote one, when they whine. They need someone to confirm, quote two, to justify their laziness. This is not friendship. This is emotional anesthesia. Remember the ancient Greek philosopher Diogenes. He walked with a lit lantern in broad daylight, and when asked, quote 3, he replied, quote 4. He wasn't looking for a body, a function, or a companion. He was looking for a soul. And he didn't find one. They called him a madman. But who are we now? The ones who remember Diogenes? Or the ones who remember his offenders? If you have no friends, it means only one thing. You no longer need anesthesia. You've taken off the blindfold and seen that most so-called quote 5 are just fellow travelers until the first dark tunnel. As soon as it gets dark and scary, they disappear. Why? Because they weren't with you. They were with the comfort you provided them. And this is where the split happens. A weak mind sees the emptiness and falls into despair. A strong mind sees the emptiness and says, finally, there is no one on my territory. I can start building. The first sign of a developed mind. You stopped confusing acquaintances with comrades.